Fiona McIntosh, editor of Nightjar Travel, recently headed off to the Madagascar island of Nosy Be, and from there she found her way to the tiny island of Nosy Sakatia. I'd never heard of that. Fiona, good evening. Welcome to the show.
Good evening, thank you.
So, Nosy Be, first of all, people might have heard of that, but I don't think most of us have heard of Nosy Sakatia.
No, I think, surprisingly, Nosy Be itself and Nosy Sakatia particularly are very little known. Madagascar has this wonderful allure, and everybody I told I was going to Madagascar sort of said, oh, wow, fantastic, you know. But when I said I was going to Nosy Be, they were like, right, where's that?
So I'm saying Nosy Be, it's Nosy Be.
I think it's pronounced Nosy Be by the Malagash.
Okay,
but,
it's spelled B-E, so that's why I'm
B-E, and I think the South Africans
it.
call it Nosy Be, so I don't really think it matters
all right.
a huge amount. But yeah, so Airlink have started flying to Nosy Be, which has suddenly put it on the map. But before that, I don't think anyone had really heard of it. But it's an incredible part of Madagascar because it's got the tourism infrastructure to make for a comfortable holiday, but it's still wild and has beautiful lemurs and all the chameleons and all the weird and wonderful creatures that you associate with Madagascar. So it makes for a very, very easy entry point into Madagascar, which is otherwise quite a hard place to visit because it's quite poor.
Now, going to places like these two islands, one of which are that Nosy Sakatia, but there's only sort of, 6.5 kilometers long and 2 kilometers wide, so it's very small. But going to that sort of destination, you have to be a snorkeler.
Oh, you definitely have to be a snorkeler or a diver. I mean, I'm a diver, so for me, Madagascar is about the diving. I mean, I love all the wildlife, but the underwater world is just amazing. And what was really interesting about Nosy Sakatia, there's only one lodge there which has a top-class dive centre, a Naui dive centre. And the dive instructor there has just written the course on fluorescence diving for Naui, for one of the worldwide organisations. He wrote that course. So he's a pioneer. His name's Jacques. Appropriately, because there are lots of pioneering
think about Jacques Cousteau under the water,
Jacques Mayol, exactly. So Nosy Sakatia has an awful lot going for it. It's got this beautiful lodge, which is run by the family, José Vieira and his wife, and Jacques, who runs a dive centre, and his wife Sandra, who's Dutch. So between them, I think they speak about 8 languages.
Okay.
And they also manage the yachts for Madagascar. So the travel agency that I actually went with is Madagascar Charters and Travel. And they have 2 beautiful yachts, a dive yacht and a fishing yacht, which sadly I didn't know about or didn't know enough detail about when I went there, because that'll be my next trip, I hope. But no, I mean, It's just a tropical island paradise, Indian Ocean paradise. You know, you fly in and you just see these coral reefs, and the water's that sort of turquoise you only ever see on travel brochures. And then you arrive and, you know, you get on this little boat and take your shoes off and walk up the sand, and you're welcomed with the garlands and, you know, I mean, it's just amazing.
Oh. Yeah, because Nosy Be, I was reading, is a volcanic island, so that in itself, the terrain must be just magnificent.
It is, and it's got these crater lakes. You can go up. The classic thing to do for sunset is go up to the highest point on the island, Montpassot, and you just look down on these beautiful crater lakes and the rugged coastline, and above, beyond that to Sakatia and to the Madagascar mainland, and it is beautiful.
The one thing I did like was I love the smell of ylang ylang, and then they have those plantations on Nosy Be. Let me get that right.
They do. In fact, they have liang liang everywhere. We got out of the taxi from the airport within about 5 minutes. The driver showed us the liang liang plants, which is incredible because they chop the tops off them to make it easier to harvest. So they're all low-lying and very sort of gnarled trunks and branches, and then these beautiful yellow aromatic flowers. But everywhere, I mean, on Sakatia as well, we saw liang liang, we saw vanilla, we saw the green peppers, and all the furniture is made from the local wood, the local mangroves and mango trees, and it's incredibly natural. Everything is just integrated into the lodges and into the society. It's a beautiful place.
The fauna and flora must just be exquisite on both islands that we're speaking about.
It is exquisite, and there are various activities you can do. You can go to see the lemurs, and you can go to Liang Liang distilleries, or you can just sort of chill. It's my third visit to Madagascar.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well, no, we really don't like you now. Okay.
Yes, and so I've done the whole travel the island bit backpacking, and I've gone to Nosy Be, and I've actually been out on a yacht before, which was just divine. But this time I just chilled on the island, and Sakatia's got everything that, it's almost like a microcosm of Nosy Be itself is a lovely island, but it's big and it's got quite a good tourist infrastructure.
I was going to ask you, how overrun is it with tourists? Because it sounds like one of these paradise places that everybody wants to go to, but then you find that it sort of loses that little bit of magic when 10,000 people are sort of all shuffling down the street with you.
No, I think that's a great thing about Madagascar, because the infrastructure just doesn't allow hundreds and thousands of people. I mean, it's not like Mauritius where you'll bus to a big resort. The resorts are small, and there are a lot of French and Italians. It's a popular playground for the French and Italians, but it's still very low key, and the people are so genuine. You don't see people begging and kids asking for sweets and pens and whatever. They've managed tourism in a very sensitive way, and I think that's what, for me, makes Madagascar so unique. I mean, the flora and the fauna is obviously mind-blowing, but for me as a tourist, it's just this hassle-free environment. There are ox carts sort of jostling with motorbikes, jostling with Madagascan what they call them, taxi motos, which are tuk-tuks,
right.
and taxis. Everyone's just going about their slow ways, and I've been very fortunate to have travelled a lot. I've done books on Madagascar and Mauritius and Reunion and Mozambique and all the rest, and Madagascar is a very special place in my heart because you just feel it's authentic still. It's not overrun by tourists. I mean, Nosy Be has the right balance of enough tourist infrastructure to make it comfortable, but not too many that it's flooded.
The one thing I talk a lot on the show about, people always say that they're traveling with slightly differently these days. They don't want to travel to be a tourist anymore. They want to travel to almost be sort of taken in by the culture and that, or as you mentioned, the authentic. You said the place is authentic, but they want that authentic experience. Did you find that there?
Totally. I mean, I think from the moment we arrived, the people, I think they're taught at school. I mean, it's very much part of their culture as well to welcome people. I mean, and it comes as a bit of a shock as a South African when a stranger walks past and sort of says hello and starts to engage you in conversation. You're sort of like, what does he want? Which is very sad.
It is sad.
But the Madagascar people are like that. And at Sakatia Lodge, I mean, you feel part of the family within 2 days. You're just... It's difficult to describe. It's just a genuine welcome. There's no pretenses. There's no sort of forced... we have to make an effort with the tourist here. That's just the way they are. They're welcoming, warm, genuine people.
The one thing everybody wants to know about places like that, what about the food?
Okay. No, Nosy Be, they have a lot of very fancy hotels with good restaurants. Nosy Sakatia is family run, and Isabella is Italian. Jose is Angolan, South African. Food is very, very important to them. The food was absolutely exquisite. And one of the trips we did this trip to Lockerbie, which is a natural reserve that has a lot of lemurs and lovely chameleons and snakes, and we went wandering around.
Lovely snakes, but anyway.
There are no poisonous snakes on Madagascar.
They're still snakes.
They're still snakes, but that's the great thing. You're like a kid in a toy shop if you're not scared of snakes, because you can touch all these things because they're not going to bite you, they're not going to poison you. And then at the end of the tour, they prepared this magnificent seafood meal, fried fish and prawns and freshly cooked crabs. And the food's fantastic. I think Madagascar is completely underrated. As I say, I've been there 3 times, but I hadn't been for a decade, and I'd actually forgotten quite how beautiful it was. Quite how special it was.
I was going to ask you about the seafood, being an island. I mean, that must be quite a large part of what they do there.
Absolutely. The seafood, the fish, all the food is is great. And I mean, they grow, they have their little market gardens and they grow their herbs, and no, the food was excellent. I don't eat meat, so I didn't eat they have these zebu cattle which have fat on their hump, and they do nice little skewers with meat and fat and meat, which is a delicacy. The first night we were there, we had this Malagasian buffet where they threw on, they put on all these treats, but I avoided those.
Okay, and you were still happy?
Oh, I was delighted with the seafood.
So you mentioned that it's not quite accessible for South Africans. I don't think it's that, especially the small islands, I don't think they're that much discovered yet by locals, by South Africans. So how easy is it for us to get there now?
Oh, it's a 3.5-hour flight from OR Tambo. So Airlink fly direct.
It's just down the road then.
It is just down the road. I mean, it's actually not as far as Mauritius, less far than Reunion. It's incredibly accessible. And because it's Airlink rather than Air Madagascar, not that I'm trying to do down Air Madagascar, it's direct. You don't have to go via the capital, Tana. You can pretty much guarantee that everything will go smoothly. I mean, one of the problems, I think, for South Africans, and one of the reasons that Madagascar is not so well known, and Nosy Be in particular is not so well known, is that Air Madagascar just didn't have reliable direct flights. So Airlink have stepped into that gap, and the direct flight to Nosy Be, and then it's a short taxi ride and then a 10-minute boat ride across to Sakatia. So it becomes very, very accessible and affordable, given what it now costs you to go anywhere else in the world.
How often does Airlink fly?
They fly once a week only at the moment on a Sunday.
So you basically you have to stay there for a week.
Stay a week.
What a trial.
Yeah, it's awful.
Really. You mentioned the affordability. How expensive is life on the island?
Life on the island is relatively cheap. I think, as with most things, you can decide what price point you're coming in at. Sakatia Lodge is a very comfortable lodge, and it's certainly not the cheapest option. There are backpacker, more backpacker
on Sakatia
style.
as well.
There is a small lodge.
Oh, okay, so there's another option there then.
Which is another option. You can stay in, and they're very nice. They're very comfortable. Not as luxurious. At Sakatia, you can have a lovely villa if you want. You can have a bungalow further back, which is less expensive. So you've got options there. And then, yes, if you want cheaper options, there definitely are.
And airfare-wise, how expensive is that? Because sometimes that's more expensive than the holiday itself.
Yeah, I mean, I only looked at the package option, so I'm actually not sure what the airfare per se is. But I know that the package options are really very affordable.
Okay.
I mean, they're not as dirt cheap as Mauritius, because that's obviously mass tourism. But for what you're getting, they're excellent value.
It's definitely somewhere to go, something to put on the bucket list.
I think Madagascar is one of those bucket list destinations.
Now, if we had an option of Madagascar itself or the islands, what would you pick? The islands?
I would always go to the islands.
Okay.
As a first-timer, especially. As I say, Madagascar is amazing, but it's a big, big, big island. It's the fourth biggest island in the world.
And then you're hitting the whole tourist thing and the hundreds of people, and that's
not. No, you're not.
You're not? Even then?
You either have to fly around, or if you travel on the roads, it's slow. I mean, it's third world. The infrastructure is poor.
Okay.
So for me, I'd rather fly into Nosy Be, go to somewhere like Sakatia.
It sounds more relaxing anyway.
It's so much more relaxing. I came back. I spent a month traveling Madagascar, and I was exhausted.
I'm surprised you came back after all of that. It sounds delightful.
Oh, yes. I would have stayed. I hope they'd cancelled the flight. Coming back to the Cape Town winter, although today was glorious.
That was a lovely day today. Yes, it was. I'm waiting for the rain. We haven't had too much of it, so hopefully we'll get some soon. But it sounds wonderful, and I'm sure you're off to some fabulous destination again quite soon.
I'm heading off to Europe shortly, yes.
As I said, we didn't like you very much, so. But Fiona, it sounds like a wonderful discovery. I'm sure most people haven't heard of Nosy Sakatia. Hopefully they'll go and have a look now and maybe think about that for their next adventure, because it sounds like that's exactly what it is. But thank you very much indeed for joining us on the show this evening.
Thank you very much.
Fiona McIntosh is the editor of Nightjar Travel, and to read more about her travels, you can take a look at the website. It's www.nightjartravel.com.